Yeah. Then we have the Alyssa Flash versus Tara match. The announcers are busy talking about Hogan, and then they admit that the show was taped.
Yes. They told everyone this show was taped before the Hogan announcement was made, so we won't have word from any of the wrestlers. And then the best part was, then they just kept calling the match like it was live.
Yeah. So
we'll step back into the time stream now.
They got a lot of time, and the match was completely fine until the stupid finish. Alyssa Flash gives Tara a curb stomp. She puts on her stomach. She grabs her arms like a surfboard. She lifts her up in the air. She puts her foot on the back of her head, and then she stomps her face into the mat. A curb stomp. She hits this vicious move. She goes to lift Tara's dead body up, and Tara proceeds to give her finish for the pin.
That's what happened. Every part of that went down exactly like you described.
Can TNA get some agents with a fucking clue? I just
love that it was stupid even before the spinning sidewalk slam thing. She hit a curb stomp, posed for a bit, and then went to pick her up. And this goes back to our point. She's already down and laid out. Just pin her.
How? I don't know. I don't know if this match was scripted to go like this. I don't know if these two, Tara and Alyssa Flash, of all people, should know better than to have the finish be a curb stomp followed by the other person hitting their move for the pin.
That is the transition used in my first ever one-on-one wrestling match with myself and Stoney Edwards in Cloverfield, BC. I hit an elbow.
Cloverfield?
What was it called?
Cloverdale,
whatever. I hit a back elbow.
One is a shitty movie. It's a big difference.
One's a shitty town. I say it's closer than you think. Regardless, he called this spot. I hit a back elbow. He took a bump and stood up and hit a power slam and pinned me. That was Stoney Edwards and Shoulders Torelli in a sleeveless t-shirt and volleyball knee pads and tennis shoes in Cloverdale. This was on national television.
Then Kong hit the ring and booted Tara in the chest, gave her an implant buster onto Alyssa, and left them laying. This was the first match on the show, correct?
Yes.
All right, hold on.
You're going to take note. We are 1 for 1 in post-match attacks after a match, which I guess is what post-match means.
I'm going to take notes.
Getting a pen.
Because I was thinking about this during the show and getting more angry. Alyssa, Tara, Kong. Kong did the run-in.
All right, 1 for 1.
Then we had the Team 3D deal. They were in their locker room having one of those meetings that people don't actually have in real life. They're back there, and Bubba's talking about how these guys fly around a lot, referring to someone who they don't tell us who it is. We later found out it was Machine Guns. And Devon is just sitting there flexing. Like, boy, look at my biceps. So in walks Rhino. And Rhino says, I'm not here to thank you for saving my life last week. And Bubba says, we didn't save you from Hernandez. We saved Hernandez from Hernandez. Because you see, if Hernandez would have given you a border toss over the top rope to the cement floor and killed you, you would have been suspended, he said. Suspended.
Yes, his exact words were, if your brains had splattered on the floor, Hernandez would have been suspended.
Yeah.
Not fired, nor arrested. Suspended.
So they also told him that if he was thinking about helping them in their match with the Guns tonight, well, the Guns had never beaten them before, and they weren't going to do so tonight, thereby telegraphing that was exactly what was going to happen. And they said that he was nothing but a conspiracy theorist and called him Lee Harvey. Since when was Lee Harvey Oswald a conspiracy theorist?
Don't know.
Did he theorize there was a conspiracy involved in his death after he died?
Don't know.
Is there a seance somewhere that I'm missing?
Don't know.
Hey, bullshit. Bullshit this was.
There was more to come.
Team 3D and the Machine Guns. This was a match where Bubba Ray nearly killed Chris Sabin. And ironically, it occurred right when Taz was talking about what a bully Bubba Ray was.
Wasn't that amazing?
Bubba Ray picks him up and he gives him a Uranage right onto the back of his fucking head. They showed about 6 or 7 replays. After the 7th replay, they cut back and Devon has pressed Chris Sabin's dead body over his head.
Right.
The match is continuing. He drops him.
On his feet.
I'm sorry. There was Shelley
came
ran
in and kicked Devon, and he set Saban down on his feet. Saban lands like a yard from his own corner and simply cannot move.
Yeah.
He cannot. He's on his hands and knees. He has no earthly idea what's going on.
No.
He cannot just reach to his right and tag in. They have to. Eventually, he pulls it together enough to lift his arm up, and Shelley tags himself in. And then the match continued.
Saban laid there.
They had a story to tell, you see.
Saban laid there in the corner, dead. They thought at the time that he'd broken his neck. This was not enough to stop the match. The show must go on, everybody. So he's laying there dead. They sent a trainer out, a number of trainers to take care of him. And meanwhile, in the ring, the match is still going on. So it's Shelley by himself against Team 3D. They do a bunch of moves. And finally, Shelley puts Devon in a half crab. And Devon smashes his hand into the mat. The referee calls for the bell, a submission, a tap out. Devon then says, I didn't tap out. The announcers say it didn't look like a tap out. Then it's over. A complete... This was like...
I just wrote a complete disaster and a near tragedy.
This was a disaster of a segment in every conceivable way. Let's count the ways.
Someone nearly died.
Okay, first off, some guy nearly got killed. They thought he broke his neck. The match kept going. Devon gets put in a half crab and submits to Alex Shelley, which buries Team 3D.
It's actually even worse than that.
Hold on. So you've buried Team 3D because Devon, out of nowhere, taps to a half crab, and his partner just stands on the apron like an idiot. Then they announced it wasn't really a tap. So now the Machine Guns didn't even win. Then they cut away. Why was this aired? I'll tell you why. Because, well, let's talk about this at the end of the show, but the argument was, why would you air a real injury when you've got a fake injury coming up that you've got to take seriously? And Vince Russo could not understand why you would not put a real injury on TV. Why not? So they left it in.
I don't know.
And that right there killed this entire show. I'll tell you why later on, but just this segment right here.
One for the absolute ages. One from the history books. Worst segment of wrestling television ever. Everything that could go wrong did. Now, I was going to say about the post, everything between the injury and the finish was actually much worse than you described, because Shelley came in, and he was in there with, I guess, Devon first, and put on a bunch of spinning toe holds. Just put a bunch of spinning toe holds. Team 3D tagged in and out for a while, and then Shelley took over and just put on a one-legged crab, and he won.
Yeah.
So the story was Shelley tagged in and completely dominated Team 3D.
Yeah.
By himself. Just shut them down. They were helpless to overcome the submission skills of Alex Shelley.
Because you see, a guy was killed, and they had to improvise the rest of the match and go to the planned finish, which was the Machine Guns winning.
By stupid non-tap?
Yeah.
They couldn't even do a spot where, like, Team 3D is running wild and bump into each other, and then Alex Shelley hits a half grab?
No. No. Lauren interviewed Scott Steiner, saying Lashley had demanded he apologize to Crystal. And Steiner said, I'm sorry. Sorry that she doesn't always like to be with a real man. And he basically said, since Lashley cost me my match last week, I'm going to cost him his match this week. And then he says, I've got a big surprise for Crystal. And he looked down his pants to indicate that the big surprise was his giant cock.
By the way, we did not make note of this, but that tag match ended and there was no post-match attack.
I got it written down here.
Okay, you did. Good.
This one doesn't count because there was an injury in a finish that came out of nowhere.
It was still a disaster.
Obviously, Saban cannot be attacked post-match. Hermie Sadler. Oh, God.
I take back what I said about Team 3D versus the Machine Guns.
This was the new worst segment.
This was the worst thing I ever saw.
Hermie Sadler. And that right there. Someone explain to me why, on a national television show, I live in Seattle, Washington, everybody. Okay? There are people that watch this show in New York City. There are people that watch this show in San Jose, California, Los Angeles.
Well, one guy.
Medford, Oregon, Portland. In fact, more than that, this show goes internationally. It goes to markets all over the world. explain to me why Hermie Sadler is an interview person for your company. The only reason that Hermie Sadler is on this show is because this is a Nashville-based company, and he's a NASCAR geek or something. Okay? It's not like this is some sort of low-level local celebrity that's actually talented in the sense that he's a great guy to interview people. For example, Bob Barker. You know what I mean? If Raw could get Bob Barker every week to interview folks for their TV show, that'd be one thing. They got Hermie Sadler, who is a black hole of charisma. He's on this worldwide television show, and he interviews Red and Don West. Red admits to the world he can't cut a promo.
Well, okay.
That's why he has Don.
It's Hermie, Red, and Don. Don and Red are sitting on the couch. Red looks maybe 7 years old. This looks like crazy Uncle Don and his touched-in-the-head nephew, Red. And so Hermie asks a question, and Red speaks first. And yes, as you noted, Red's answer to the question was basically, I cannot cut a good promo, and so I went out and got Don.
Yeah.
So then Hermie asked a question of Don West. And the question was, and I am not making this up, what do you see in this guy? What do you see in this guy?
Yeah.
And so Don started to be Don West and talk about how what Red is everything a wrestler should be, everything parents should look for in a role model. And as he is speaking, and I'm not making this up either, they cut him off mid-sentence.
Yeah. Yes.
They cut off Don West mid-sentence as he was selling Red. Then we never saw any of these people again. Well, I take that back. We saw Don West later, but...
Now, let me add also that all of the work that we just put into explaining this, the actual segment did not exceed 20 seconds.
No way. No way. This was... I am still shell-shocked by the horror of the segment. This was so bad.
Let me ask the question again. Why fucking bother?
There were a bunch of times in the show, because, you see, they filmed a 2-hour show, then had to cut out stuff to make room for Hulk Hogan. They left in the match where a guy nearly died.
Oh, yeah. And this.
And this.